Right, it is 3 o'clock, so why don't we get started? Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our first student panel of the summer, designed for our transfer students. We are all really excited to welcome you officially to the Seawolf community. Congratulations, we're really happy that you are here. My name is Emily Hoey. I'm one of the graduate interns in the new student programs office for the summer. I use she, her pronouns, and today I'm joined by some incredible student leaders who are going to be leading our panel today. We have some questions prepared for them, but today is really about you all as students. So we have a Q&A feature enabled where you should be able to see at the bottom of the screen where you're able to ask questions. You're able to see any questions that people ask. You're also able to what's called upvote questions. If you are also really curious about this question, you can like it just like you would on Facebook. And then we know that that is a popular question, and we want to make sure that our panelists have a chance to get around to. So we're going to open with each of the panelists introducing themselves, telling you a little bit about their journey here to Stony Brook, what they're majoring in, what year they are in school, just their whole elevator pitch, you know. But while they're doing that, if you have any burning questions right off the top of your head, feel free to throw those in the Q&A. You can ask questions anonymously or not, whatever you prefer. We're going to try to get through everything today. We have about 45 minutes to an hour, and whatever questions you come into today's session with, we want to make sure that you leave with answers. So without further ado, why don't I pass things off to Sasha to kick us off, and then we'll just go around introducing yourselves and telling everyone a little bit more about you.
Hi everyone, my name is Sasha, I use she, her pronouns. I am a peer assistant leader or PAL within the new student programs office here at Stony Brook. I actually transferred here this semester of spring 2019. I am currently a fourth year student and I'm studying social work here.
I can go next. So my name is Allie. I am a fourth year as well. I'm going into my second fourth year. My major is political science and women's and gender studies, which I love. I was a transfer student. And I came from Onondaga Community College. And I should be graduating next spring. And I can popcorn it up to Brianna.
Hi, so my name is Brianna and I am a transfer student. I transferred here from Nassau Community College in spring 2020. Yeah, and I'm a senior and I'm also a bio major. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Pan Tian Wang. My pronouns are she, her, hers. My major is biology as well, specialize in neuroscience and am on the pre-health track. And I transferred from LaGuardia Community College, which is in the Queens, in fall 2019. And this upcoming fall semester will be my last semester at Stony Brook. So welcome everyone. Happy to share my experience today.
Thank you, everybody. We are really happy that you are here joining us as panelists. We also have on the back end 2 additional PALs, our peer assistant leaders, Abby and Melissa. They're going to be able to answer any questions in the Q&A that come up that they're able to type out responses to. But for our 4 front-facing friends, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you chose to transfer to Stony Brook and what that experience was like?
I guess I'll kick it off. So I transferred from Suffolk Community College. I originally went to community college because I thought I wanted to move out of state or far away in New York State or something. But I chose Stony Brook at the end of the day because of how prestigious it is in a lot of realms, especially because it is the #1 public school in New York State this year. We got that whole honor this year, as well as I really was intrigued by all their different resources and extracurricular activities they offered outside of the classroom experience. So that really drew me in. And that's about it for my experience as to why I chose Stony Brook.
I can go next. So I transferred to Stony Brook because I'm originally from Long Island, but I went upstate with my family for a couple of years. And for me, it was just the most affordable thing that I could do. It was also the best. I thought it was the best SUNY for me. personally, and I knew that there was a lot of opportunity, especially like research opportunities. So I was really excited about that, and that's really why I moved to Stony Brook.
So I actually wanted to go to Stony Brook back when I was in high school, but I ended up going to the University of Connecticut. So I actually moved out of state. And then I didn't like it at all. So I transferred back. And I spent like a year and a half at Nassau. And then ultimately I transferred here first because it was my first choice initially. And secondly, because like I'm also on the pre-medical track and I really wanted to do research, which was my main reason for coming here. And I'm actually like in a research lab now. So I'm getting to do what I wanted to do and I'm happy.
I actually transfer here because a lot of former classmates are also here and my cousins comes here too. So I just like get a lot of guidance from them. So I just decided to come here as well.
Thank you. So there's a lot of different paths into ending up here as a Seawolf. Clearly, as you are all transfer students, all coming from different backgrounds. So what are some resources that you took advantage of after transferring into Stony Brook that really helped to make that transition a successful one?
So I utilize the different types of clubs on campus just so I can get involved because personally in high school I was very much involved extracurricular wise like outside the classroom, and that's what motivates me to stay like doing well in classes and academically, just having that balance between like fun extracurricular stuff and academic stuff. So I utilize like SB Engaged, which is a website which shows all the different clubs and organizations which are offered on campus, as well as the Cork app, which is CORQ. So that shows all the different clubs and different events that's going on campus. So I utilize that to make sure I get my good combination and balance between fun activities and academic stuff.
I definitely loved the Career Center. I have gone to the Career Center so many times. They're so helpful. I had to like I wanted to apply for like an internship, and there's like an option with the Career Center where you can sign up to have them like review your resume slash CV, and they'll also do like mock interviews with you. I like actually did like multiple sessions with them for my resume and for my like and CV and stuff like that. And they were always super helpful, super kind, very, very patient. They like went like through everything with me, broke it down like step by step. It was so, like so specific to the point where they're like, we don't like the font, like change the font, like this isn't a nice font, change it. So they're always really, really helpful at the Career Center. And they do try their best to help you find internships on campus and off campus. So that's a really great resource that I would definitely recommend.
So for me, when I transferred here, I took ADV 101, which is basically like, it's like transfer seminar. And essentially what it is you're basically going to class once a week. It's about, I don't think it's even like an hour. And you're learning about all the resources that campus has to offer. And you're doing like different fun activities. And they also have it sectioned off into like, I guess specialties in a sense. Like what I took was spirituality and wellness. So like in addition to learning about the resources here on campus, it was also tied into spirituality and wellness, which is what I was interested in. So yeah.
I would echo a lot on what they said, like the SB Engage and Court. I find my club there, and then also I want to add on what they said is the advising office is a big one. So you should definitely visit your major advisors and your like pre-professional advisors, as well as like some student will have to go to a test for your basic like the SBCs and all the other stuff. So I find the advisors are very helpful because when you're going to your advisor, you can make sure you're on track. And if you want to do any like minors or change your major, or you're not sure what class is best fit for you, you can also go to your advisor. They sometimes will explain like what that class are going to talk about, and probably the advisor knows the professor and they can give you some guidance, and that's really helpful. Yeah.
All really great resources from the Career Center, advising, getting involved with that transfer seminar class like Brianna mentioned. Yeah, and getting involved outside of the classroom. There's a lot of different ways that you can make a big school like Stony Brook feel a little bit smaller, especially coming in as a transfer student where it can seem a little bit tougher to integrate and figure out how you're going to fit into the overall Seawolf community. Lots of different ways to get involved. So you're all involved in different programs, different backgrounds. So what does a typical day in your world look like with your involvement, your studies, your research? What does a typical day look like for each of you?
Okay, so last semester looked a lot more different than what a typical semester looks like because a lot of my classes were online and asynchronous, so they didn't meet at a designated time. So there's a lot of do it on your own. But next semester, my days are going to look like this in like a typical semester as well. Is I wake up around like 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. depending on what time my class starts, because I know a lot of my classes are starting 9 a.m. next semester, and they're across the other side of campus at the health services center, like on the hospital side, because I am a social work major, as well as so I'm like in classes 9 to 4, and then I'm going to be an RA next semester and all of next year. So my nights are going to be mostly filled with that. From 7 to 11, I'm going to be on duty in the office, as well as if I'm not on duty, I'm going to be doing some rehearsals in the club I'm in. I'm in a musical theater club called Pocket Theater, in which I am one of the executive board members of. So that's a lot of fun. We're trying to put on a big production. We're debating on what title we want to do, whether that be Little Shop of Horrors, Legally Blonde, all that stuff. So we're still debating, but typically I'm pretty busy from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. Still trying to figure out when I'm going to have time to actually sit down and do my studies. Probably from 4 to 7 will be my little increment of time. But yeah, that's a typical day in my life.
Yeah, I can go. I guess my day, well, at least next semester, I know that I'll have a couple days off, which is really, really nice. I try to do that every semester, actually. I like to pack up like 2 days or 2 or 3 days and then like have a couple days off throughout the week. I know some people don't like that, or you just can't, like depending on like what courses you have to take and like when they offer them. But luckily enough, I was able to just book up my Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'll be free. So that's really nice. So I'll be able to like maybe like do a little something on the side, or have dedicate those times to myself and stuff like that. I'll also be an RA, so I'm really excited for that. And I know Sasha just became an RA, which is super exciting. Congratulations. So those are kind of like my days. Just I'll probably have like 5 minutes to get to class, but that's okay. I got to get my steps in and stuff like that. I'll probably drop by like the Starbucks a little bit too often and use up all my dining dollars there because I'm unhealthy. And then I'll probably drop by like the library too because it's like right in the middle of campus. So sometimes like I'll go into like a little study room, or I'll go into like the red area, which is like the library is like broken up into zones. So like when it's like a red area, you don't really like chit chat and stuff like that. So I'll go like, I'll go there like between classes if I want to, take a little break and study and stuff like that.
So this semester is actually a little bit different for me too, because as Sasha said, we had a lot of classes online and I overloaded my past 2 semesters. So I had class like every day and I was always doing something and I barely got sleep. But this semester my course load is actually like a lot lighter. And I just like my plan is to basically enjoy like my last semester here. I'm a success navigator and it's a new position with the Academic Success and Tutoring Center. And like we haven't worked out the kinks yet, but basically I'll be mentoring students throughout the week. I'll be working in the lab at the hospital and also like having in-person classes. So I guess as Sasha said, I wake up pretty early around 7 or 8 a.m. I try to get breakfast and yeah, just like start my day, go to all my classes, and then either come to the lab in between or go back to my room and study. I also like to study like at the library, as Ali said. Yeah, and that's pretty much a typical day for me.
Okay, so the last 2 semesters, I utilized the Google Calendar a lot because I just put all my classes in there and they will remind me when it's my class time. Sometimes if your professor send you like an invitation, like a Google invitation, the Zoom link will also be in there. So it's really convenient using that to go to class. And yeah, I love morning classes because I can get my head like concentrated. So I usually like wake up 1 hour before my first class started, sometimes 8, sometimes 9, and go to class and then do some studies between classes and eat between classes. And then I will also go to the library sometime, like for a normal semester, like before COVID. Because I will usually go to the commuter lounge, which is a special area that you can like eat and you can study at the same time. So it's really convenient because like a lot of study room don't allow you to bring drinks and food in there in the library. So I like the commuter lounge a lot. And then during night, like around 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., there's a lot of club activity. So sometimes I will pay a visit to the clubs that I'm interested in. Or sometimes I just relax myself at home, like watch some, I don't know, dramas, animations, and that's the day.
Those all sound like a really great type of day. So clearly, important takeaways, everybody. Google Calendar. You're going to spend a lot of time in the library. Go to the commuter lounge. There's a lot of different resources available for you here if you're commuting to campus or just as a transfer student in general to really feel acclimated. So how did you adjust to the courses at Stony Brook compared to your previous institution? What was that transition like?
It was a big shock, honestly. My GPA did take a little bit of a fall, I would say, maybe my first semester here, but it wasn't the worst that I couldn't bring it back up. So the semesters after that first semester, I really made sure I kept grinding and making sure I learned from my mistakes that first semester. Like I wasn't having a good study routine. I didn't think I was studying at all. I was waiting till the last minute to actually do things. I think I was even skipping classes, so that like made my GPA even lower because like the professors do take off for tardiness and missing classes off your final grade. So I think that made me a letter grade down than I was supposed to. So it was not fun. But I lived and I learned. So I felt like if I didn't have that learning experience, I would just have like a mediocre GPA. Like, oh, this let me slide by for like the first semester, so let me just keep doing the same mediocre stuff. But by me doing that really bad semester, I know what it means to do great in these upcoming semesters.
Can you read the question again, Emily? I just want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah, sure. So we're asking now about how you adjusted to the courses at Stony Brook, like the academic component, compared to where you were previously.
Right. Yeah. I think I honestly, in terms of like adjusting, I think like just managing, I really like kind of resonate with like Sasha. Like I was like my first semester, like I didn't really know like what to do, especially like as a transfer. Like just like the whole like the rigorousness of Stony Brook was very different than what I was originally used to at Onondaga Community College. So just like changing my study habits was like really, really important, and it was very crucial. And those are still things that I'm learning. Like it's not like I have it down right now and I'm like an amazing studier, but I think I've learned certain things that I shouldn't do, like maybe not lay down and do my homework because I'll fall asleep, and stuff like that. Just it's the little things that help, and definitely Google Calendar has helped me immensely. I'm so forgetful, so thank God for Google Calendar because I would not do a single thing. But that's kind of how I adjusted and stuff.
To piggyback off what she said, Google Calendar has saved me so many times. But basically, I think it was just a lot of trial and error and being self-aware and knowing when something wasn't working for me or when like I was procrastinating and I really needed to like put my foot down and be like, okay, like I have to get this done, even if I have to, like, turn off my phone and go somewhere where I can get my work done and focus. And for me, like as I said, I've been a transfer student twice. So I kind of had that transition multiple times. So it's gotten to a point where like once I came here, it wasn't, I wouldn't say easier for me to adjust, but I already kind of like had certain expectations like of myself, and I had certain goals that I set for myself. So between that and yeah, just with that and the trial and error thing, as I said, because you may not get it the first time and that's fine. It definitely helped me with handling Everywhere, because there are a lot of courses, especially like if you're interested in like bio and or like chem or stuff like that, where your classes are going to start off really huge and you may not get that like one-on-one, like I guess one-on-one instruction that some people may find helpful like me. But at the end of the day, you have to find other ways to adjust, even if it means like reaching out to TAs or like your professors in office hours or anything to like help you handle like the rigor of the coursework here.
I think I'm just going to highlight that the major classes will require a lot more study time. And it's really important to keep kind of a study routine, because the materials stack up really quickly for me, like in the first few semesters. And I find that the TA, like the professor and TA, because back in community college, we don't have TA for the class usually. And here there's a lot of major class that have a special TA, and sometimes they will have recitations. And so go to the professors and TA and ask questions during the recitation is super helpful. And because the class size is super big, so you cannot like, sometimes a lot of students will be in the will be asking questions. So you just have to be there and then ask your question. Don't mind interrupting them speaking, because if you just keep waiting and waiting, like if you just want to wait till a time that no one asks questions and ask your questions, then probably you won't have the time, and the hour will pass really quick. So just keep a study routine, just like study a little bit every day would help a lot, because I always try to like wait till the weekend and then study all the stuff from the week, but that is not helpful. So not recommended. Probably just watch the videos if you have to during the day, maybe just like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's better than watch like 3-hour video during the weekends. Yeah.
Thank you so much. A big theme, I think, to come out of that question is time management. No matter what school you're coming from, and it's probably something that we've all been working on even at our prior institutions, is really being on top of our calendars, our assignments, because the deeper you get into your college career, the more you're going to add, whether you're joining Pocket Theater, taking on research opportunities, visiting the Career Center, you're adding more and more appointments to your schedule, and you can do it all as long as you lean into Google Calendar and turn your notifications on, for sure. I also love what Brianna pointed out too about having those goals for yourself. That's something that will really translate from whichever institution you were previously at to Stony Brook, is having those high expectations. And like Pensian was pointing out too, like sticking your neck out there and making this big school feel smaller by asking those questions, sitting in the front row, talking during recitation. So you can get all of your questions answered. You have a lot of resources here. So I want to pull some questions out of the chat. So a few people have asked about the public transportation system. We know a lot of transfer students are commuters, or at least want to take advantage of public transit. So can maybe two of you talk about the bus system, if it's free for students, and then if students choose to ride bikes, what that registration process looks like. So buses and bikes are some of the big ones.
I can share a little bit about the transportation, because I normally, when I first transferred in, I didn't have cars, so I commute by the bus, which goes from the South P to the SAC. There will be like an express bus that comes normally every 5 minutes during semester, and during like weekends it will be every 15 minutes. There's also different routes of the bus system that goes to the train station and goes around the campus. Also, if you want to bike, make sure you just have your lock. So I bike to campus from South P. That's about, I would say that's a little faster than the bus, like about 20 minutes or so to the main campus. And it's a little hilly, our campus. So make sure like it's a good exercise, but it may be a little painful when you first start biking. So as long as you have your lock, there's a lot of places that you can lock your own bike. We also have share bike, which is free if you use your student car. But during summer sessions, if you don't have class, you're not allowed to use them free, so you have to pay.
You can use them. You don't have to be taking a class. But the thing is, like for the bike, sorry to cut you off. For the bikes, you can only rent them out for 1 hour. So like, but you can put them back and then check it out again for another hour. Just know that it's in like 1 hour time limit. So you have to return it within 1 hour.
Also, all buses, I don't know if this is mentioned, but all buses on Stony Brook are free to students because it comes with your tuition and fees. As well as if you ever do want to do the Wolfie ride share, which is the bike share where you swipe in your ID and stuff, just so you know, the passcode is your date of birth. A lot of people get stuck there for like an hour trying to figure it out. That was me. Just don't forget about that.
Thank you. I know that that is a big concern for a lot of students is how am I going to get to campus and how am I going to get around? Once you're here, you'll totally see it's easy to navigate this large campus. You start figuring out where your classes are, which buildings are important for you, and it's easier to get around. So another concern that I think you all can address is eating on campus. So do places on campus, do they take cash? Do you have to have a meal plan? And where are the best places to eat on campus?
Okay, so I can start this off. So this past year, we actually did not accept cash at all because there's a contactless type of thing with COVID. I'm not sure how it's going to be this upcoming semesters, but that's how it was last year. As well as you're allowed to use debit and credit, so you can use that. So as for the swipe ins and the dining dollars and everything, as a commuter, you are not mandatory. It's not mandated for you to have a meal plan, but you can load up on the prepaid card of your ID with dining dollars or Wolfie Wallet. If you're residing on campus, it's your first year residing, you're going to be put on an unlimited plan, which basically means you're going to go to our dining locations. And what a dining location means is you swipe in and you get an unlimited buffet style. If you still want to eat with your residential friends or you all want to get a buffet style and you don't have that meal plan, you can pay an upfront cost, the door price. It's about like, let's say an average of $10 for each meal to just pay upfront with a credit or debit card. And my personal favorite place on campus is in the Wong Center. It's Jasmine, has a bunch of Asian cuisine and has bubble tea and stuff, has a lot of great options. I totally recommend this. This is not on the meal plan. You have to pay retail price for this. So it's either debit, credit, Wolfie Wallet, or dining dollars.
So may I paste the link in the chat?
Yes, please. Yeah. So check out so we'll put that in where everyone can see it. But yes, we have a link for a little bit more information about dining services. Thank you so much. But definitely check that out. Everyone can find their favorite place on campus. There's a few different locations with different cuisine. I second Jasmine. That is fantastic food, sushi, bubble tea, everything that you could be looking for. So back on the academic side of things, when you were transferring your credits, how did you find out what classes were accepted? What was that process like for you working with your advisor initially?
I do want to shout out the transfer equivalency page that we have. I actually, maybe somebody can attach it into the chat. I can probably do it too after I'm done. But it's really, really helpful. If you know your courses that you took at your previous institution, you can just put it in and it'll tell you what the equivalency here is at Stony Brook, or if they take it, or just how it transfers over, period. So I would definitely check that out. Super, super helpful and resourceful.
I will put it in the chat as well.
Thank you.
So my, for the most part, all of my credits transferred in smoothly, but there were like a couple of things and stipulations that you have to watch out for, and some things that they didn't initially tell me that I had to like ask and like, get clarified for me. So because I was a bio major, I had already taken most of my prerequisites, if not all, at my previous institution. So when I transferred it over, particularly physics. So I came from Nassau Community College and I took calc-based physics. So because there's like a little like discrepancy with, I guess, the prerequisites over there versus over here, I had calc-based physics 1 transfer over, but I had algebra-based physics 2 transfer over as well. So it didn't come in as calc-based physics 2. And then I had to retake physics lab 1, but not anything else, which is really weird. And then on top of that, if you're a bio major and you're coming in with statistics, I don't know if it's just with Nassau or if it's with other community colleges, but with statistics specifically, if you don't have an A, you have to take it over. I had an A, so I didn't have to take it over, but it wasn't showing up in my degree work. So I asked my advisor, and she was like, "Oh, if you have an A, then we fulfill it, but if not, then you have to take it here." So just make sure you ask questions, especially if you see that there's discrepancies or something that like doesn't make sense to you. Then just make sure you double check and go over everything with them so that you like nothing there is apparently missing when you're trying to graduate. Yeah.
Thank you. That's really helpful. So a lot of our students are coming up on that initial advising meeting pretty soon this summer. What advice would you have for them to start thinking about before they meet with their advisor? What are some good questions to have, some good info to have in their back pocket? What should they know before that first meeting with their advisor?
I would advise going to the Stony Brook Bulletin. There has all the majors and all the major requirements. So if you are like already know what major you're going into, check out the major requirement and check all the classes. And because you have the transfer equivalency, so you somehow actually knows what classes are going to transfer into what classes. So what I did when I came to Stony Brook is that I checked out all the classes that I already have and then figure out what's the leftovers classes that I have to take and take a look at all the class description and kind of like make a class plan. So when I go to the meeting, I kind of know I have like plan A, plan B, plan C. Those are the classes that I should take in my first semester. And if the advisor give me some other options, I can also like change the plan based on what I already have. So that's really helpful instead of like going to the meeting and finding out, oh, there's so many class description and you don't have the time to read it all during the session.
Oh, so I just posted a link in the chat, and basically what it brings you to is certain forms. So you have the transfer course evaluation form in case they say that you need to bring it to the department to get evaluated, because that might happen for some of you. And then they also have the semester planning grid and the degree requirements checklist for the SBCs. So even if you don't know what your like specific concentration or major is yet, you can print out the SBC requirements and you can kind of check and go over what you have and don't have based on the equivalency page. And that may help you kind of like jumpstart your meeting with your advisor when you have it.
Also, when you go to your advisor and they recommend to like take classes, like let's say there's not enough classes offered in your major that semester, like, oh, why don't you take some Stony Brook curriculum classes or SBCs? Just be open to the idea of messing around with your schedule, like making it might not be in the order that you wanted to, but at the end of the day, just make sure everything's good enough that you can graduate on time, which is why the advisor is there for you to make sure you're graduating in a timely manner when you do want to and you're taking the right courses at the right time.
Great question again. It's great. It's great for all of you to know to be prepared for those meetings with your advisors. Another question that's come up is about summer classes. So we are in the middle of our summer session, but if any of you have ever taken summer classes, how do those work? What can students plan for if they want to do that in the future?
I'm taking one right now, and I took one last summer. And essentially, I would just say be prepared for the fact that it's 4 months of a semester being crunched into one session, which is basically like 6 weeks, depending on whether you're doing like the regular session or the extended. And you just have to be prepared because, like in a regular semester, you're probably maybe doing 2 topics per week, but in a summer semester, you might be doing as much as like 5 topics per week, and you're basically kind of speeding through and taking exams every 2 weeks. So I would say just be prepared and have like good ways to manage your time, even if it means maybe like if you have a summer job, taking on less hours, or just taking the class solely by itself and then worrying about everything else later. Because if you have too much stuff to do over the summer, it can be very overwhelming. And yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say.
And I also want to add on that the summer have 2 sessions. So there's summer session 1, summer session 2. And if you have some classes that would be like a extend session. So for example, like summer session 1 extended and summer session 2 extended. For those classes, if you want to take them with some like other session, like if their time is like overlapping, you have to be mindful because sometimes if you take a summer session 1 extended, it might be overlap with summer session 2 classes. And also like for financial aid, the financial aid would usually it would once you choose summer classes, you would get the financial aid automatically, but just in case it doesn't come automatically, it's good to communicate with your financial aid office and let them know that you're taking summer classes before it happens.
Thank you. So if you could turn back the clock and give yourself any advice about what you wish that you would have known before starting at Stony Brook, what would you tell your previous self?
I'm just going to go off the summer class thing because this recently arose with myself. What advice I would give myself is if I'm doing summer classes, especially like introductory level courses that can be taken anywhere else, if you don't have to take it at Stony Brook, maybe take it at like a community college online or something, because a lot of the times it is kind of cheaper. It's a more affordable option depending on where you are with a different school. So that's just something I wish I could go back to myself last summer and just tell myself that and just remind myself about that.
I guess I wish
Before,
I knew more. Oh, do
go
you want
ahead, go ahead.
Okay. I guess I wish I knew more. I guess I didn't really look into it my first semester, but more about like the GPNC. So it's basically like a grade pass, no credit that you get to have, and you like kind of set a limit for yourself as to like, let's say you don't want to go below a C, and if you do, um the GPNC allows you to have, like, let's say you set the limit as a C, but you get a D. The GPNC allows you to have a no credit, as opposed to like having that D on your resume, I mean, on your transcript, and then having it affect your grade point average, which is really, really nice.
Okay, I'll go first. I would probably tell myself to join less club because I went to too many club activity, I think, during my first 2 semester, which kind of like those are like they all have fun activities and they're so interesting that I don't have enough time studying sometimes. So maybe like in your first or second semester, check out the most interesting 2 or 3 clubs. Don't go too often because that might be really deflecting your concentration on study. Yeah.
For me, it might be a little counterintuitive, but I wish I slowed down because coming in, I mean, spring 2020, I took like the maximum that I could have taken. And then fall and spring, I overloaded my credits. I was taking 20 credits each semester and I was doing like a whole bunch of stuff. I actually became an EMT over in the fall. So I had classes every day and I was taking most of my hard courses like Orgo, cell bio and basically all my upper division classes. And I didn't really have time to relax. And it like I burned myself out. Like it got to the point where I literally just would open a book and I would just be staring at it and I just couldn't do anything. So I feel like I wish I, as I said, like slow down and really kind of took a break and relaxed, because if you're just going, you're eventually going to burn yourself out and you don't want that, especially when finals comes around, because then you literally feel like you can't do anything, but you know, it's final, so you have to grind. So yeah, I would just be cognizant of that and make sure you have something that you can enjoy. It's like a goal for myself next semester, since I'm taking like less credits, is to go to the gym more often so that I can have a way to kind of release the stress. Because if you don't, then it gets harder and you might end up feeling overwhelmed. And yeah.
I really love that you pointed that out, Brianna, because my next question was going to be, given that this is a fairly stressful environment with a lot of rigorous classes, as you pointed out, a lot of different things to be involved in, how do each of you manage that stress?
All right, so I like to allocate break times if I don't have break enough time for like a break day, maybe like a couple hours out of like every other day or every 2 days or something, just so I can relax and not think about schoolwork. And just do something for myself, whether that be like a self care day, like I get my nails done, get my hair done, or something like that. Or even if you don't think you have the time for that, I leave at least an hour within each day just so you can unwind, like, and just have some time for yourself. That can even be like in the morning when you wake up for your morning routine, or just like in generally at night, part of your nightly routine, like you have an hour just for yourself to sit down on the couch or your bed and just relax and read a book. Personally, I made such a priority for mental and self-care last semester, and surprisingly I thought like, oh, I'm giving myself too many days off, I'm giving myself too much time off. But last semester was the first semester I got a 4.0 GPA overall in all my courses, so it was actually working because I wasn't too stressed out and like Brianna was saying, like burnt out. And it really helps at the end of the day to take that extra time and care for yourself.
I personally like to listen to music a lot, even when I'm studying. So I will put on some fantasy music, some pure music, and they actually like calm me down if I'm like too excited or too stressful. And sometimes they would remind me of like what I'm doing if I'm like too happy or too excited. So it's a really good habit. And I will also point out the gym. So there's an app called Lato, and during in-person semester, we do have some session, like we have yoga session, boxing session, cardio sessions. So sometimes between class, I will sign up for one of those sessions. And when I'm like working out, it's also like keeping, I don't know why, but exercising is just like keeping me a little less stressful on studying. Probably the body exercise is different from brain exercise. So maybe balance that out would be better.
I think definitely learning how to say no has been super, super important when it comes to like being stressed and like managing your stress. A lot of times, like I love to overwork myself because I'm just like love opportunity and I love doing a bunch of things. I just like staying busy, but I think knowing how to say no when you are getting stressed and taking that time aside to be like, let me do something for myself. Let me go get some coffee. Let me lay down. Let me listen to some music. Is really, really important. Um, and yeah, I think just knowing by saying no and like putting up those boundaries for myself, I am so much healthier in the end. So yeah, that's probably how I would manage my stress.
We're definitely proud of Stony Brook being ranked on so many different pages for being an academically rigorous school. But that's definitely coupled with we don't want our students feeling stressed out all the time. So we have a lot of different resources here to support you while you're in the middle of this transition as a transfer student. And then once you're here and more cemented in the community, there's still ongoing resources available for you. We have organizations like CAPS, Counseling and Psychological Services, CPO, the Center for Prevention and Outreach, that are really here to support you in those ways. And then the Campus Rec Center, where you're able to just go run a few laps or punch a bag for a little while and just feel a little bit less stressed. Listening to music, finding community here on campus. There's a lot of ways to feel secure, whether you're an extrovert who wants to be around a lot of people or an introvert that feels a little overwhelmed by all the people here. There's ways for you to feel more secure. So for our friends that are living on campus, how do they get in touch with their roommates? And then if any of you have lived on campus, what was that experience like living with roommates?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna quickly say, on the Star Res housing portal, when you confirm your housing, when you confirm where you want to live and stuff, it gives you the name of the people that you're going to be living with, whether that be a roommate or a suite mate or whatever it is. You can always email them with their first dot last name at stonybrook.edu. Reach out to them like, hey, just so you know, we're going to be living together next year. Can we get some contact information? You can get their phone number, or just quickly introduce yourself over the email with some likes, interests, and just a little bit about yourself. Personally, because it's COVID year, I had the whole suite to myself. So I had no roommates for the first semester. I never had a roommate, I never had a double. So I can't really speak on that experience, but sharing a living space is a lot about communication and making sure everyone puts in their end, especially if you have agreements in the beginning of the semester, making sure everyone follows and adheres to that. And just keeping the space clean is crucial. Don't leave garbage everywhere. Take when the garbage is full, take it out right away. Don't wait for it to pile up and pile around the trash can, because that's really nasty and it stinks up your common room or just your room in general. Just keep on top of that.
I second everything that Sasha said. When you're living with people, it's not just about you, it's about everybody that you're living with. And everybody comes from different households and different backgrounds. So um it it is an adjustment period, but generally what I like to say is especially in shared spaces where we all use, it's keep it clean. you know um I know in COVID I was adamant about wiping stuff down and surfaces down. But depending on whoever you're living with, it may be good, it may be for me it was but for the most part, yeah, I would say just make sure to do your part and keep things clean. But at the same time, I've had issues where I was the only one taking out the garbage and I had to put my foot down because it was look, I can't be the only person taking out the garbage, otherwise I'm just gonna have my own garbage. And it got really disgusting. And at that point, I mean, you can either talk to them or just be I don't know. I don't know. I guess just kind of um, just ignore it. That's what I had to do because sometimes it doesn't work out. But for the most part, your experience won't be bad. So don't go in thinking it's gonna be terrible. Because for the most part, the people I've met here are pretty good people. So just be cognizant of the fact that you're living with other people and they keep clean. And yeah.
Yeah, living with roommates was an experience. Definitely some adjusting to do. Kind of like what Sasha was saying and Brianna was saying, just delegating responsibility is super important. You're not going to be buddy buddy with everybody, and that's okay. I think that's something that's really important to understand. Is that you might not be friends with your suite mates, but that doesn't mean that you won't have opportunity to connect with other people, either at school, your classmates, or your residence hall. So I definitely just encourage that. I mean, definitely try. I mean, I made some great friends, great sweet mates, and I enjoyed that. And I'm super lucky. But then there was also other times when I didn't, and I didn't talk to them, and that was okay. We were just respectful, we were cordial, and just respected each other, and set up expectations for the suite and stuff like that, and just communicated. So
Great points, everybody. Just be a good person if you're living with people on campus. Keep your space clean. And I like Allie's point too about they are not going to be best friends with everybody, but be a good person, and that makes this whole process a lot smoother. I want to make sure we get to this question. So what are upper division classes like? I know most if not all of you are graduating pretty soon. So what you have experience with those, what have your upper division classes been like?
So personally, my upper division classes were a lot smaller than the big introductory courses, like the one-on-one courses and stuff. For example, I took a organizational behavior class within the business department. It was about, I think it was 50 people tops or 45. It was in a classroom setting where there's like chalkboards in the front and everyone's at their own table with one other person. So it felt pretty small, and the whole experience with that was I felt like there's a less busy work and more work that had to do with what we're learning, but there still is a lot of work regardless. I just feel like the information's a lot more specific in these upper division courses because usually they're like more topic based rather than just an overall introductory overview of the topic. So expect to keep putting in the work. It might even be a different type of work where you're more specific with your examples and stuff, and just make sure you're adhering to the expectations by your professors as set out in the syllabi.
Actually,
Go ahead.
oh, 80% of the classes I took at Stony Brook are upper division. So I actually feel like I didn't feel like they're like a lot difficult than other classes. Basically, they require like you would be required to study no matter if that is a upper division class, but probably it would like I took a upper division music class and it required a lot of reading and learning about like the history of music. And I'm not a music major, so I feel like that class may make me feel different from a perspective of an outside major taking a music class. But as long as you are like keeping up with the syllabus, keeping up with the reading, and then go to every class, I feel like the workload is affordable. So and for the major class, it might require deeper understanding. Like for a lot of the biology class, I feel like it would require you to read like to understand the material a little bit deeper. But for the music class, it's fine. Just have a little. It requires us to write several papers, and that's it. So it's not a nightmare. So don't worry about it.
I think it depends on which what department you take your upper division classes under. So like I know for bio, for my upper division classes for my major, they're still pretty huge. Like about maybe 200 students or so. So they were still big, but I also took a lot of them online. The only upper div bio class that I've taken was microbiome, and that was 600 students. So, but in other like areas, like I've taken Africana study classes and I've taken history classes like for upper division requirements, and those are pretty small. They were smaller. It's like I believe one of the Africana study classes that I took was like 60 students, and then there was a history class where there was only like 20. So it really depends on the department. But as like she basically said it all. Just make sure that you stay on top of your work and make sure that you're studying, especially if it's like something outside your major that you may not necessarily have like a good foundational knowledge in. You might have to put in like a little bit more work, but it's honestly so fulfilling because at the same time you're basically learning new things that you like didn't really know before because they're outside of your major.
Awesome points. One of those advantages to being in upper division classes that are smaller in size does mean that you get more of that one-on-one attention from your faculty or your TAs, and that should empower you to be able to ask those questions, especially if you're in a class that is outside of your major, which a lot of us are going to have to take, or classes that might not pique our interest the same way, but do expand our worldview. You get more of that attention and the ability to ask more questions and learn from truly experts. Nowhere else besides in the college environment are you surrounded by experts in their field a lot of the time. So this is really a special opportunity for you to be able to interact with people. So another question that's showing up in our chat is about where can I go on campus, particularly if I'm a commuter, that I can attend classes that are online or study? Where can I get that kind of devoted study space?
Oh,
Sorry, I personally recommend, let's say you're in a class that doesn't require you to talk that much. Mostly it's just you listening and the professor lecturing at you. I would just say set up in a nice roomy table, whether that like right now I'm Eastside Dining, I have a really big table to myself, so you can easily set up your notebook or your laptop and tune into the lecture. But if you need more of a quiet area or like an area where you're able to speak, anywhere outside would be fine because everyone's always speaking. Or you could even do the hallway of the Melville Library because I know a lot of people are talking there as well because there's no like actual assigned or designated levels of volume there, as well as the first floor of the North Reading Room in the Melville Library, because that is a collaborative zone. It's a green zone in which you can speak and do all that. But if you want like a designated commuter spot, we do have commuter lounges across campus, such as in the Student Activity Center. And the one in the library is now currently under renovation, so hopefully that can be opened up soon.
to piggyback off what Sasha said, I would recommend the Social Behavioral Sciences building, which is by Javits, although I don't know if Javits will be open this year, but usually a lot of the big lectures are in Javits. Um, but yeah, it's very quiet and like all the um all the floors have tables. And personally, I like to go there, especially in the fall to study. So if you like want like a quiet place to study or like go to class and like maybe you're not doing as much talking, then I would recommend the Social Behavioral Sciences building.
Also, the student union also have some places, which is a new building. It's really beautiful. There's a lot of table on the first floor, and it's really close to all the other office. If you have like OISing questions, ID card questions, financial aid questions, it's near. It's also close to the campus life. Campus life. Yeah, it should be on the second floor. So it's also a good place to study.
I also really like the atrium in the humanities building. It's really, really cute. They have a glass ceiling. Apparently, it's really nice when it rains and at night. I don't know why you would go there at night, but it's really, really nice. It's a cute space.
One nice thing about having a large commuter population is that we really have a lot of different spaces within the different academic buildings that are set up for studying. We know that students that are coming to campus pretty much might be going to just a few buildings at a time if you aren't living here. And so they're set up to be study friendly as well. So we also know that we have a lot of online classes still in session. So we have students that are headphones and laptops, transitioning them everywhere. So we have a lot of different spaces set up for that. Can one of you confirm when does the library close for our students that are going to use that? Should be open pretty late to accommodate students that are studying there.
This past semester, they were open till like around 12 a.m. each weekday. That was because it was COVID. I remember there used to be 24 hours like areas within Central Reading Room for, especially during finals week too, so people could always study and such. But I believe one of our panelists just sent something in the chat with the library website where you can find more up-to-date information about the hours and keep track of that as more information comes out.
Thank you, Sasha. So it is 3:59 right now, so we are going to wrap up our questions and answer session. If you still have any lingering questions, feel free to get in contact with our office is orientationoffice@stonybrook.edu. And just want to give a quick round of applause to our amazing panelists that joined us today, and our pals and our coordinator, Megan DeJoya, on the back end, really helping us with troubleshooting all of the questions coming through. Thank you to all of our attendees and welcome to Stony Brook.